Hello, hello. Hold on. What's going on here? Hold on. I was going to start fighting it. Oh my goodness. So, welcome to my channel. My name is Emmie from Emmie Evolving. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for finding me. If this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. So, I'm going to be doing a reading for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Also for your cross watchers, also for those of us who find ourselves on this channel without any Piscean anything. You're probably an empath and you're probably needing messages from your soul. Okay. So let me just finish shuffling this deck. So first and foremost, I want to say, um, tomorrow is a fairly large holiday for the US. I know this is a very difficult time of year for a lot of people. If you don't have anyone to spend this holiday season with, that doesn't diminish your worth. Okay. You are not insignificant. You are not unnecessary or unloved. Okay. I just really, I always feel that way this time of year. Like there are so many people who are hurting, who are feeling very alone, very lonely. So I like to try and go out of my way to acknowledge you and your experience and really help to validate that you exist for a reason and the world still needs you. Okay. All right. So, Pisces and empaths, I asked what this reading was going to be about, and the situation is about to climax. I don't know what that means, but something's coming to a head like a boil. Like a boil. Mm, 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 mm. Like a boil. It needs to be lanced. It needs to be drained. I'm just la 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 la. Bow to your partner. All right. So let me pull a couple from here. All right. Ooh, remembrance. Whatever this is, there's a lot of remembering going on. How accurate that process of remembering is, I do not know. I know that looks nasty. It's a clump of cinnamon. It looks nasty. So there's a lot of things that are being remembered. What exactly are we remembering though? Is it part of what we need to do, part of what our mission is? Or is what we're remembering nothing but bad things, nothing but trauma, nothing but struggle? Whatever it is you put your attention on, that's what you're going to be experiencing. Be careful of what you allow your energy to be used for. Okay. Spring. I feel like as spring comes around, I mean, we still have to enter into winter, which we haven't entered into winter yet. As soon as we enter into spring, it feels like there are things that are going to be put into play. And however we experience this is going to be contingent on what we choose in this time period leading up to the actual spring. Now, if you make the analogy of climbing up a mountainside, uh, you know, I don't know if you guys go hiking or what, but I love the outdoors. And there's times where we're trying to climb up some sort of elevation. For some reason, my goodness, I always end up choosing a path that is the most difficult to climb up. Yo, I'm not very tall. So when you need me to really like reach a next level of elevation, and I'm over here taking the path that has the largest gaps between the next step, that creates a lot of struggle for me. And I found that there's been times where instead of recognizing like this, there's an easier way to do it. I just have to go back a couple feet, like literally 2, 3 feet, and take that smaller step to the next level. I think a lot of what empaths and Pisceans go through is that we see where the next plateau is, and we end up trying to get there as quickly as possible. This is so true for people who are going through their spiritual process. Instead of allowing it to be a process, we make it some sort of um, like a race, first and foremost. We also have a tendency to turn it into this thing of like, it has to be completed by a deadline or I'm failing. You don't know when you need that done by. You just know that you need to do it. So do it in such a way, live your life in such a way that is the most compassionate for you. And what I've found in the past, instead of, backtracking for 2, 3 feet, which is really not a lot, um, I'll go ahead and try and force myself to climb up this greater discrepancy in elevation. And like I said, if I have to take the next step and the next step is like that 2 feet, except I don't have the luxury of taking several steps to traverse that 2 feet, that's going to be a lot harder for me. It's going to be a lot harder for me. And I already know I really lack the ability to balance. I do. I lack the ability to balance, and I usually end up sliding down hills, like literally sliding. So that's something I'm choosing though. I'm choosing that because I'm pushing myself beyond what is appropriate for me and my limitations in that example, in that analogy. The limitation is the vertical reach of my not so vertically gifted legs. Okay. It's the equivalent of me taking that step onto a stepping stool and me trying to put my foot on the counter, one foot on the counter, and trying to pull myself up onto the counter like that. I mean, and I have tried that. I have tried that for some reason. I felt it was an option. That's not an option. I tell you that right now. It's not an option. I usually end up falling. My leg is not strong enough. That's basically like a pistol squat. I'm not strong enough to do that. Allowing yourself to be honest with what you can actually handle in that moment is the best way to approach it. Literally have Shiva pull you. Girl, you know what happened one time, and this is what I was thinking of. I don't know if you were picking up on it. What happened one time, and this was in my head. I did this. I put my foot on the counter thinking that I was just gonna try and stand up. And I was struggling, and I was leaning over on the counter. I'm pretty flexible. So I basically had my foot on my side, and I was trying to stand up. And then I think she saw me struggling. So she took her snout and she literally boosted me using my sphincter. She used my ass to push me up. It did get me up there, but I also did a face plant on the cabinets because she shoved me so hard. I did get up on the counter and I face planted on the cabinet. And the silly thing about that is that the stool was right beside me, so she partially climbed up the stool. Like, "You okay?" She was younger, but that's what she did. Like, she was basically letting me know, like, "Hey, mama, you see this right here, this thing that I'm on? You could have used this instead." I mean, sometimes the decisions that we make, trying to force ourselves to prove something. No one was even watching me. No one was challenging me to do this. No one was tasking me to do this. It was something I had to prove to myself. For what, girl? For what? For nothing. For nothing. I literally did a face plant. Almost took out everything on the counter, just trying to scramble to hold on to something. Luckily, I was by the sink. And then I swung my other foot over and out. Now I'm in the sink. I'm in the sink on the counter, and my dog is still trying to shove her face up my butt. Like, stop! I'm already in my face. I'm just saying it didn't have to happen that way. But here's the thing, maybe it did. Maybe it did for me because of the fact that that's literally the only way I learned. Because I promise you, that was the last time I pulled that kind of caca. That was the last time I did that. Okay. That was literally the last time. D- You can only shove me by my pelvic floor for so long before I'm like, I'm good. I will just climb a ladder. I will get a seat and I will use the kitchen seat to climb onto the kitchen counter to reach the second shelf. Who the fuck created kitchens that way? Y'all are just short people discrimination. That's what that is. Just because I'm vertically challenged, don't mean you need to make me feel like I'm less than. I'm just saying. And then here comes my son, Mr. 6 feet. Do you need me to reach that for you? No, I do not. But if since you're offering, since you're offering, yeah, could you reach it? I can't reach it. I can't reach it. And let me get off of that topic already. There's lack of balance in your life. There was totally lack of balance in that situation. There's lack of balance in your life. And is it tied to that whole thing of trying to prove something? You know? I mean, are you trying to prove something to yourself? And if that's the case, why are you trying to prove something to yourself? Has someone like actually made you feel less than? Has someone made you feel less than? Because I refuse to believe that I am short. I'm average. I'm average. Okay. I'm average size. And maybe me climbing counters. It sounds so obnoxious when I say it out loud, but I promise you in my head, it's like a serious thing. It's like a serious thing. But and maybe that's what we need. You know what I mean? Maybe we need to say these things out loud because then we get the reality of what we're actually making ourselves go through, you know? Like my hands, I have a really weak grip. I can't open jars. I can't fucking reach the second shelf. Yeah, I just feel helpless. I feel helpless sometimes. And so what do? I get a butter knife and I stick it under the lid and until the air bubble is somehow released and then I can open that. And then I can open that. You know what I mean? But I mean, do I need to do that cuz there's so many times where I've almost cut myself. I don't even feel short around others. I don't. I don't feel short around others. I feel like we're on the same level. I feel like we're on the same level. I just I don't know. I feel like that doesn't define me, but I also feel like I'm basing that statement on logic rather than the reality of where I'm at within the emotions. You know what I mean? Girl, the tailgate is like above my waist. That's just some bullshit. And then when we used to have a lifted truck, I mean, I'm just saying, like, why does it have to be that high? Why does it have to be that high? It doesn't. Well, yeah, no, it does. It has to be lifted so that you can get over things and preserve the undercarriage. But what we have to really focus on is, are your emotional needs, emotional processing in alignment with your logic? You know, is it in alignment with your logic? We have to make sure we are not just being completely in the logic aspect of where we're at. Like, you're reaching that apex. You're reaching that place within yourself and your journey where you're going to be at a high point. And once you get to that high point, what if there's more to climb? Are you going to be able to climb that? Or have you expended everything on getting to that meadow at the top, thinking that's the end of it? And you want to beat everyone there, right? But now you've expended everything. So then now what's going to happen? You can't continue on. Something's going to come to a head. Something is going to reach this point of elevation where if you're not balancing the emotion and the logic and existing in that center point, you're probably going to fall down that hill. Okay. You're going to probably, your emotions are going to be like some 3-minute clip of Dr. Pimple Popper. Just ooze out. The moment you're cut, all of that infectious debris is going to ooze out of you. It's building up a lot of pressure. And here's the thing with some of the wounds. Some of us who experience these profound wounds that sometimes are inflicted by us, okay? When we experience these wounds and we allow it to fester and fester and fester, when someone comes along and cuts us with their question, with their words, with their assessment of who they think we are, oh my goodness, the amount of projectile oozing. That projectile oozing is full of infectious material. You're hurting because all of that infectious material has been allowed to be hosted by you. Creates a lot of pressure, a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain, just so much of that. And you wonder why life hurts. I mean, is that how you live? Where you're just burying the pain, burying the pain, burying the pain. I'm questioning everything right now emotionally, and is my logic skewed? I mean, it could be skewed logic, it could be skewed emotions, it could be that both are valid and you just have to kind of shift things around like a puzzle piece, so that they can click together and give you a greater picture of what's actually going on. Sometimes that's all we have to do. It's like neither are skewed or both are skewed. And we just need to adjust just a little bit. You don't have to become a different person. You don't have to be someone who pretends to be a different person than who they actually are. And that's part of the distortions that occur when we try and play a role for other people out of convenience, their convenience, their preference. Maybe it's your convenience and maybe that's what you prefer. Maybe it has more to do with you're trying to maintain the peace. And if you allow yourself to, share your thoughts, your beliefs, it's not going to have any type of peace. Maybe you need to have that little bit of a battle to make sure a war doesn't actually erupt. Michael is showing me some really, really old lifetime. This is like before, I mean, it's maybe the Bronze Age or something, somewhere along that period, where we just began to develop, excuse me, weaponry and begin to really, really make advances in the techniques. And he's showing me like one one region going into battle against another region, and because they did that, they actually averted an entire war that would involve multiple regions. You know what I mean? Sometimes speaking up and having an uncomfortable moment, that's a very thing that will really cause the avoidance of a full on war. We do this so much. This is why narcissists love, love triangulating empaths and especially Pisceans. It's just one of those things. You know, I was thinking to myself the other day, um, one of my girlfriends is dealing with a severely narcissistic, soon to be ex husband. And I'm like, I don't really want to get involved because he's crazy. He's crazy. He has military clearance. Like, I don't know if I want to be any part of that. Um, and then I thought about it and I'm just like, yeah, I really don't want to be a part of that. But do I need to be afraid? Do I need to be afraid to speak my truth? Because I personally believe he has some craziness in him, extremely distorted thoughts. He can be extremely aggressive. He has military training. He's this, he's that. He has high security clearance, and I'm just like, "You know what? Fuck that. No. 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 I'm not going to be scared of you because guess what? I'm not your wife. I'm not going to stay quiet. I'm going to be real effing loud. Real effing loud. If you try and drag me into it, because that's the reason I'm partially dragged into it, he dragged me into it. I was minding my own business. He dragged me into it. And that's the thing. I got dragged into it silently. But I promise you, you're not taking me any deeper without me getting loud AF in a very public manner. It's not going to be worth your time because then all of your lies are going to come out. All of your lies are going to come out. And a lot of what we deal with involves other people using the general public to shame you into silence. What if that's the toxic stuff that's building up, and it's about to reach this explosive moment where, ooh, the truth comes stumbling out your mouth? And I had to quantify. I had to really quantify. Like, all right, you were able to do quite a few videos with your sob story on one platform. You were able to accrue over 1K followers there who believed your story because they didn't know any better. If we really need to go there, then I really need to go there and I'll go on all of my platforms and speak my truth. So, really, am I needing to be afraid of anything? No. Do I want to do that? No. No. But did I need to remind myself that I have the capability of actually launching a defensive maneuver? Like, bruh, if you want to keep your ugliness private, don't involve me. Don't involve me. Really, really don't. Because if you start saying stuff, who knows? This might be the one time that I choose to actually stand up for myself. You say it publicly, I'll have to stand up for myself publicly too. It's gonna be ugly. I don't wanna be part of that ugly, but here's the thing. It's nothing but a reminder, that battle within the self, to avert the war outside of the self. It's like lancing your own wound. I love to lance things. I don't know if it's just me. I love to lance things. I love to extract things. I'll extract blackheads, milia, oh, all sorts of things. You let me see your pores. Is something in there? I will extract that. I don't even need tools. I just need a credit card and some alcohol. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And that's another thing. If you can make a statement like that, where you can extract the clogged toxicity and you don't need like the official tools, you can make do with anything on hand. And that says a lot about you. You can handle anything your life brings your way. You can handle anything. And just because you don't fully believe that, it doesn't mean it's not actually your truth. As a matter of fact, what I've recognized through my lifetime, things always reach a climax when I reach that point of really not allowing myself to believe that I can handle whatever it is that's in front of me. That's the only time it climaxes. Because the climax has a lot to do with friction. It has a lot to do with a building up of sensations caused by friction, by stimulation. And I mean, are we allowing people to stimulate our fear, our aversion to the addressing of what's been placed before us? Are we silent in that friction that they're causing within us? You're probably going to experience a climactic moment that it might not be a pleasurable climax. It might be this thing of needing to lance the boil and allow that toxicity to drain out of you. The situation stinks, so do infectious material. It's rotting parts, rotting fluids. So we have to be consciously aware of where we are at within our logic and our emotions. This lack of fulfillment, a lot of this has to do with, the subject that Chidi and I have been talking about in the Empty Cup Radar podcast. A lot of it has to do with this like very skewed logic of if you allow yourself to receive, you're a bad person. If you allow people to know that you're in need of help and you allow them to actually help you if they are so moved, you're a bad person. If you receive in any way, shape, or form some sort of compensation, you're a bad person. Are you really a bad person, or are you just trying to convince yourself that you are? Because bad people don't have problems with those things. As a matter of fact, they feel entitled to those things. And, just because you feel entitled to that does not necessarily mean you're a bad person. But I have noticed people who are deemed bad by society, they don't have these types of worries. They really, really don't. They don't. They're not concerned about how other people will receive them. They are not concerned about, well, if I receive, then someone will go without. They're like, no, this is mine. Eh, eh. I mean, I don't know. Is it really theirs, or are we just not allowing ourselves to recognize what's rightfully ours, what our process is? I mean, what is it that we're doing? Do we even know? Have we taken the time to really assess what our what Okay. Have we really allowed I'm sorry, I'm ordering cakes and pastries. I'm ordering it. Sorry. I didn't want them to run out. Okay. Have we really taken stock of what it is we need to do to allow ourselves that advanced logic, that advanced knowing of actually what we need to do? Or is it just one of those things where it's just like, I'll just wing it and I'll just wing it? Because if you can wing it, that's okay. I wing everything in life. I literally do. I never make plans for anything. Like, I need to I need to go do something. Okay, let's go. Pack our things, let's go. It doesn't matter if I have to drive over 1,000 miles in 24 hours. I'm going. If I need to go, I'll go. I don't my husband and I, we were talking about that. Like, that's what we do. Very lucky because, you know, we run our own business, but that's literally what we do. We want to go to Florida. All right. Let's see what's the quickest path, the quickest route. Kids, pack your bags. We're going to be on the road for a week. We leave in 30 minutes. Half the time, they don't even know where we're going. We'll tell them in the car. Or if they ask, like, oh, we're going to Florida. For what? I don't know. Disneyland's there. You like Disneyland? If you can't do that, why are you trying to force yourself to? If you can't be flexible in that way, why are you forcing yourself to? Flexibility internally as well as externally, as well as physiologically, emotionally, mentally. Flexibility is a process. You go through a process to develop it and to further amplify it. It's a process. Do you understand that when you don't want to do something, that resistance, it greatly affects your flexibility, your resistance to whatever needs to be let go of creates an irretractable type of situation. Like, I don't want to do that with my leg. So, okay, here's the thing. So, Michael, I'm not sure why, but okay. So, like, this is so I can totally hug my leg, right? This is my leg. I can totally hug my leg. To me, this is comfortable. Stretching out my leg, it creates tension in places that I really don't want to release right now. So can I just like force my leg all the way up? No. I'm going to injure myself. I'm going to seriously injure myself. But I promise you, if you give me like 2, 3 minutes and let me stretch on the floor using yoga positionings and my breathing, I'll put my leg behind my head. I can. I can. Like right now, because I haven't stretched in a very long time, I could totally like close, close, but I don't want to right now. Am I going to force it? You try forcing your leg behind your head. Try it. Try it. Let's see how that feels. How does that feel? Are you trying it? Because you should try it. And then you'll begin to understand what exactly you're doing to your intellect and your emotional state. When you try and force yourself to release that toxicity without giving it a way out, an exit strategy, um, you're you're going to compound your issues. You just are. You just are. Why do I do yoga poses? In order to release my hip flexors enough to be able to put my leg behind my head. Because when I do actual yoga poses, which for a while I was doing Ashtanga. When I do that, I know the exit strategy out of that position. I can exit out of that. I will not get stuck in that. I know how to get out of it, which ways to release just enough so that my hip flexor will allow for greater mobility, range of motion. And that's the thing. We don't allow for a greater range of motion. We're just focused on flexibility. If you're very flexible and you have a very limited range of motion, you're probably going to tear something. You're probably going to dislocate something because at some point your body's going to fight back. It's going to protect itself. And I'm wondering if that's the analogy we actually need to be aware of, where we're forcing ourselves and forcing ourselves and forcing ourselves to go through this process. And then part of us fights back. Part of us fights back. And then the effort becomes sabotaged in some way or appears to be sabotaged. And then we get into this logic of why am I like this? Why do I always sabotage myself in my life? Are you sabotaging yourself, or is your expectation really just not aligned with the reality of what you want or need? And there needs to be an alignment between those two things as well. So, Book of Shadows, secret. Whatever you're keeping secret is about to come out. I should hold on. I got to let everyone know that I gotta let them know that there's a lot of things gonna be delivered in a second. Hold on, or else they're not gonna open the door. And then I'm gonna be like, "Hey, where's all the cake?" And they're like, "What cake?" Oh no. Okay. Um. Okay. So, ooh, are you in a period of incubation? Are you in a period of incubation? Are you allowing yourself to marinate in these things that maybe you think are secrets? Um, I was talking to my husband last night, right? Late last night. And we're talking about one of his relatives. I met them for the first time years ago when we went to Hawaii for Christmas. And I distinctly remember because at that time I was trying to be normal AF. I really was. I didn't tell anyone any of the stuff that I say here. I was hiding the fact that, I had one deck of cards. And when we went to Hawaii, for some reason, that one deck of cards that I had magically showed up in my luggage. I don't remember packing it. And that was a period where I didn't want anyone to know that I had cards. So I distinctly remember his relative, like they literally pulled me aside, brought me to a private bedroom, and that sounds creepy, doesn't it? And it wasn't creepy at all. And they were like, "So, like, can you answer some questions for me?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, did I do something?" And they're like, "We know that that you have gifts." What do you mean? What do you mean? And she's like, "Well, you're a prophetess." No, I'm not. What are you talking about? Like, I didn't understand. And then eventually, she started asking questions and this and that. I was like, "Oh, you know what? I have cards in my purse. Do you want me to ask the cards?" And she's like, "Yes." And looking back, it was this thing that came up last night in my thoughts of why did she even like pull me into another room to basically do a reading for her? Like, how did she know to ask? And my husband's like, oh, well, because, you had your cards. And I was like, but nobody knew that. I didn't tell anyone that. And this is my first time meeting his relatives. So how did they know? And my husband's like, well, something like it's the kind of just, it's obvious. Like you could tell. Everyone could tell I was different. Literally, everyone could tell I was different. Um, One of the models that I worked with when I was a photographer, makeup artist, um, like I didn't talk about any fringe topics. Everything is just about holistic living, all natural food, veganism, because she's a vegan. She was the one who introduced me into veganism. And it was a really beautiful thing. It's just kind of like, we're just chill. And she was the one who introduced me to the concept of star seeds, star children, because I would bring my then only child to photo shoots with me because again, I don't do babysitters. Um, and you can tell he's not like a regular. He doesn't talk like a toddler, and then he totally would have like his favorite thing was this anatomy manual for a little bit. And then she was talking to him, and he was like having a mini lecture about capsaicin or capsicum. I don't remember. I don't remember. But it was just like, that's how she knew me, a stay at home mom. I do fashion stuff and I'm a stay at home mom. And that's it. That's all we ever talked about. When she got married, she introduced me to her entire tribe. I was like, do you guys remember that white witch that I was telling you about? This is the white witch. And I was like, what? What did you call me? What do you mean? Why would you say that? She goes, oh, because you are. Was it something I said? She goes, no, you just ooze this. Like, you're just so magical. You ooze magic. Like, you can't hide that. Like, so, like, I'm weird? She's like, no, you're not weird. You're a magical being. You're a white witch. At the time, I didn't understand what that meant. Because you grow up Catholic, any mention of the word witch, there's no white witch, there's no dark witch, there's no. Anything pertaining to witch is evil. Took me a few years to process this. That her definition was not the same as my own. It just wasn't. And it was weird. Because literally her entire like huge tribe of friends absolutely welcomed me and embraced me. And it was weird because I've never had people do that before. I distinctly remember I was doing her makeup and her hair before one of the ceremonial stuff. And, she introduces me to one of her best friends and she's like, oh, remember the white witch I was telling, and her friend's like, oh, you don't even have to tell me. I just see it like all the sparkly on her third eye. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And she goes, you can't hide that type of light. And I was just like, whatever you say, whatever you say. That was a very climactic type of experience. And instead of falling down that mountain of preconceived ill notions, all of these people who are open to the beauty of someone's existence as you are, not only did they hold me up, they carried me up the mountaintop. They carried me all the way up the mountaintop. That's a beautiful thing when you can find an environment that really just loves you as you are. And I did not have that again until you guys. That was God. The start of 2000s, maybe like 2000. 2000 2003, 2004. I think that's around the rough time period where I experienced that, and I didn't experience it again. Um, I didn't experience it again, literally until you guys. And even though I switched over to YouTube in 2018, I want to say, um, I didn't allow myself to recalibrate my perception and reception until last year. The whole GoFundMe thing was a very climactic point for me. It was that very definitive moment in my life, in my journey, where I realized, like, y'all are not just being nice to me. You're not just tolerating me. Like, holy crap, there's like genuine love and support. And it became this process of like, what did I ever do to deserve that type of love? Like, that's too much. But is it too much? Or is it in beautiful alignment with what I deserve? I still don't know, to be honest. I still don't know. Um like, part of me, my logic is like, there's I haven't done anything to warrant that depth of support. So it doesn't make sense to me. Emotionally, there's this part of me that's just like, no, it does. It makes sense. I'm the only one that doesn't understand it logically. But my heart tells me it makes sense. This is my truth. This is my reality. This is what I really am. And you guys were just kind of giving back to me the kind of energetic love that I was infusing into all of you, just because that's what I do. Just because that's what you do and that's your norm does not mean you get to take away people's opportunity to reflect that same love back to you. And one of the hardest things to like wrap my brain around was like, but no, then that means I'm a manipulator because I made you feel like you had to pay me back, and I didn't do that so that you feel obligated or indebted to me. I did that just because I love you. And again, is that really what's happening, where you guys give back because you feel obligated and guilted, or is it because it feels right in your heart? It feels right in your heart, and you've watched me do things without any expectation of anything, and just, you know, it's the love overflowing because that's what I do. I love people. I just love people. I don't have to know you. I don't, I just love people. And you're existing as a external reflection because that's what you've witnessed me do. And now you've given yourself permission. You're not just copying me. Witnessing me be that with no apologies and no hesitation, no fear of that vulnerability, no fear of someone taking more than what I'm willing or capable of giving. It doesn't convince you to try and be me. Instead, this whole year I've begun to realize, and I've just begun the process. It's this realization of, you're not copying me. You're just becoming more comfortable to be who you are, which is really very similar to me. If you can't think the way that I think, you won't resonate with me. You won't share space with me. You really won't. And that's that very clear understanding of it, like in that way, is the thing that frees me to be as authentic as I possibly can be, as vulnerable without manufacturing that vulnerability. Because I'm not interested in having, you know, a large number of followers and having this huge audience and reaching milestones as fast as possible. And like, I need the YouTube plaque for, I don't even know what the I don't know. I think there's a silver color one, and then there's some other color ones that I don't know what they are. I don't know what you need to do to reach that point. I really don't care. I really don't care. All I care about is that whoever sits with me as I sit here, that you find some sort of ripening of your understanding of yourself, your acceptance of your processes, that you're uncovering a depth of self-compassion, grace for self that maybe you haven't been able to find anywhere else. Not because I'm the only one capable, but because I'm fearless in my vulnerability. And that's that, you know? Kind of just being who you are. Just being who you are. I had to go through a whole process of losing so much to get to this place of just being, just flowing. I used to be someone who had a lot of lists. I had a list for all the different lists that I have. Girl, have you lost your cock ass mind? Because I kind of feel like I did. I kind of feel like I did. I felt like I lost my mind for quite a few years. Who has a list to organize all the different lists that I have? And it's this thing of I swung all the way to the other end of the spectrum and I refuse to do lists. And now I'm getting to a point where, you know what? The list wasn't the problem. My lack of ability to take accountability for my issues, my struggles with self control, controlling my environment was the problem. The lists were nothing but a symptomatic presentation, an externalization of this sense of chaos within myself. Why is it chaotic? Because I was still trying to be someone that I'm not. I was still trying to be a Stepford soul. And the process that I had to go through to remove that expectation of myself, it was painful. It was definitely painful. And that pain was necessary because for Pisceans and empaths, we have the capability of mitigating, not fully addressing, okay, not neutralizing, but just mitigating extreme amounts of pain. We can hide it really, really well. We can hide it really, really well. Really well. Just in the past 2, 3 weeks, most people had no idea what I was going through. I was in severe, extreme pain. So much pain, physical pain, that I was experiencing bouts of tachycardia. It was causing irregular, very quick heart rate. For several nights in a row, the pain was so extreme that I was river dancing in the living room, legit river dancing in the living room, contemplating calling 911 to take my ass to the ER. But most of that, it got to a point where I couldn't hide anymore. Most of that I hid from my family. I hid that from my children because I didn't want them to be worried. But here's the thing, they were already worried because they could tell. They could tell how much I was trying to cope through. Some type of pain, you can cope through it and then it will pass. You know, this too shall pass. There are other types of pain that are indicative of your mental, emotional, physiological toxicity. And it can only be addressed by addressing the toxicity. You know, infection can travel from one part of your body to another. It can. It can. Absolutely. It can travel from one part to another. You know, medical science has already been talking about, if you have a tooth infection, that can actually damage your heart. It doesn't just stay in your tooth. It can begin free flowing through your whole body. That infection can spread. When you um, try and process something too quickly, like I remember over the summer, my God, my brother had been hospitalized for, gosh, I want to say 2, maybe 3 weeks already, something like that. And he was really sick. He had sepsis because he had a central line, had a port in his chest, and he developed sepsis because his body is rejecting all of the foreign things. And they had him on a very strong antibiotic, IV antibiotic, oral antibiotic in the hospital. And after several weeks, his lab showed that, okay, it's safe for you to go home. But here's the thing. He still had, oh no, it wasn't his. Yeah, no, it was after he got the central line in his chest. The infection was from his PICC line in his arm. So he goes home that night and he gets body work done, and he wanted to go ahead and break up that lump in his arm and kind of just disperse it, right? Literally within a few hours, he almost died. Literally. He had literally just gotten home from the hospital. He got home, I want to say like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, 10, somewhere around there. And then by I think like 3 in the morning, he was struggling really bad. He didn't want to go to the hospital though. So by 5 or 6, my son and the team made a decision, like, your ass is going to the fucking ER. You're going to the ER. His blood pressure dipped down to, I want to say like 40 over 30 something. I don't know. The whole staff was like, you should be dead right now. And they were preparing for him to die. Yeah, literally. If you're in the medical field, once your blood pressure goes down past a certain level, past a certain minimal level of pressure, you really don't rebound from that. You don't. And why did that happen? Because his mind, he still does not accept how sick he was. He refused to accept that. And it can be a powerful thing, but it can also be the very thing that creates more pain, more struggle, more destruction. It's up to you. Do you need to experience that depth of struggle and pain to understand? Now, the extreme pain that I went through, because I was doing the same thing, had an abscess form because the dental work I had done failed. No, it didn't fail. The dentist that worked on me is just a fucking asshole. He only half-assed did the work that I paid him to do. And so an abscess formed, and instead of allowing myself to like just take medication and let my body do its thing, I forced that abscess to be reabsorbed into my body and to enter into my lymph nodes. And then it messed me up. I should have went to the ER. I really should have. I really should have. I endangered myself by doing that. He endangered himself by doing that. How many times have you endangered yourself by doing that? By forcing yourself to process something that you are not capable of processing to the degree that you're forcing yourself to process right then and there. You need time. You need patience for self. You need to allow yourself the freedom to go through the process to do it in a right, healthy, compassionate, self-loving way. Sometimes it's going to be climactic and, you're just going to explode on someone or explode on yourself. Other times you can address it. And oftentimes, if we begin to address things as they occur, if we don't wait, if we don't ignore it and pretend nothing's wrong when we know damn well something's wrong, it doesn't have to get to the point where you're suffering and in pain to that degree where you want it to just be done. I was telling the dentist, like, pull, just just extract everything. Like, I don't even care. And they're like, "Well, we can do implants. We can do dental implants." And I was like, "I can't implant anything. My body rejects everything foreign." I really don't care. I don't care. I don't care. At that point, I was in so much pain. I really didn't care how many teeth they'd yank out just to stop the pain. Luckily, I went to a really good dentist this time because they're like, "No, you don't need your teeth yanked. You just need that dental work to be corrected. And you need antibiotics." Okay. Perfect. Perfect. When you come across someone who has an actual idea of how to resolve the situation that you're in, consider their level of expertise. Consider their life experiences that have provided them the knowing to be able to safely advise you. Because this dental office is amazing. Oh my god. It's amazing. I love this dental office. I love their entire team. Um and do I need to be afraid? No. I know that I was afraid before because I knew I already felt really, really weird about that dental office I went to last year. I already felt weird. I felt weird and I was just like, well, this is the only office that I can find that does sedation dentistry because I'm reactive to the entire Kane family, the entire thing, and epinephrine. I have a hypersensitivity. So I have to have sedation dentistry. And out of my desperation, I didn't want to do more research. I went to that office. I already knew something was wrong. I could feel it. I could tell that this was not going to turn out fine. I still did it anyways. And so I had to live through this entire year of being in pain with it becoming a climactic experience over the last couple weeks. Yeah, that's how stubborn I am. Several weeks of extreme pain, and I'm just masking during live streams. I'm not the only one that does this. I know that for a fact. I know for a fact quite a few of you do the same thing. Hide the pain. How many of you go into the bathroom to cry? How many of you, once you're done crying in the bathroom, fix yourself back up and exit the bathroom like nothing ever happened? How many of you wait until everyone is asleep at night to cry? And as soon as someone wakes up because they heard you crying, they're not sure if you were actually crying, but they woke up because they heard something. And they ask you if you're fine, and you're like, "Yeah, why?" "No, no, I'm gonna go to bed now." How many? How many of you want or need something but don't dare ask or let the people who love you know what you want or need? Because I don't even know why. I can't even make up an excuse in my head. Yeah, poker faces. And it's that very poker face that's caused people to believe that we are so easy to take advantage of, that we are so weak, that we're unstable. Because by the time we've had enough, we explode and then we hit it so well that people are like, why are you just yelling? Yo, this is what is going on here? Where is had glitter on my face? You hide it so well, people don't know when something's wrong. That's why for some of us, we're going to be reaching this climactic point where, that boil is about to pop. The friction and the pressure and ooh, ooh, or so strong and don't need, but yes, want to explode and you're nuts. Yep. 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 And it's also this thing of like, I don't want people to feel badly for making me feel badly, for making me feel like this is the only way I could be heard. Is it the only way? Or is that the way you choose? I'm still working on learning how to properly and effectively communicate, um, not necessarily with strangers, but with my family. People say I'm highly articulate. I have emotional intelligence. I have intellectual intelligence. Um, I'm an introverted person in real life. It's very difficult for me to speak my needs, my personal needs, to the people who have loved me for so long. It's very difficult for me. Oftentimes, I won't say anything. Why? Well, because I'm still learning how to work through that. It's an entire process, and I've been actively involved in this process of mine for several years now. For several years now, and I can't say that I've actually made profound progress in my personal life. I can say that I'm learning really well because I've begun this thing of having boundaries and standing up for myself publicly, because that was really hard for me before. Really, really hard for me. And now it's like, no, I got attitude. Not all the time, but I got attitude. It's kind of just, it depends on how you approach me. It depends on how tolerant I'm capable of being with you in that moment. There's a lot of factors into it. No, I'm not a bitch. No, no, I'm not a mean person. No, I'm not impatient. No, I'm not crazy. No, I'm not any of those things. I'm a whole person. And if you do things that cause me to feel as though that's the appropriate reaction to your presence in my life, that's what you're going to get now. That's what you're going to get now. I don't have it in me anymore to be people's punching bags, to be people's doormats. No, I'm not a victim. I co created those experiences with other people. I went ahead and either found or allowed people who have that capability of that depth of selfishness, toxic selfishness, toxic self centeredness, sense of entitlement. I allowed them into my life. I did not set boundaries. If I did, they were very weak boundaries and they were not enforced. I co created that. Does that mean I'm saying and I'm identifying as a weak person? No. I'm saying that process that I went through and my understanding and blunt honesty with myself so that I can hold myself accountable for my decisions is the very reason I've progressed in this process of empowering myself. You empower yourself as you experience the very thing you struggle with, not by avoiding it. That's the equivalent of saying, I grow my muscles by avoiding the weights and not eating. You need to have a need for that muscle to grow in order to achieve hypertrophy. Not only that, if you don't use the muscle, it's not going to grow. Secondly, if you do use the muscle, but you don't eat the proper foods, it's not going to grow either. How do you achieve hypertrophy? By lifting heavier and heavier weights as you go through those movements, targeting specific muscle groups. You target that group, you load the weight, you work that muscle to the point of failure. Failure. Failure is not you thinking like, oh, I can't do it anymore. Failure is the fact that you can't actually do it. You cannot move that muscle. Working on your quads, leg extensions, you can't lift that leg anymore. When you try, it just shakes. Okay, that's muscle failure right there. Good, perfect. Stretch it out. Release that lactic acid. Stretch it out, rub it out. Wait a minute, 30 seconds, whatever minimum amount of time you need for recovery, and hit it again. You don't stop at a number. You keep going until it fails. And you do this over and over and over until you know you can't anymore, until you have completely depleted all of the reserves in that muscle, till you're left with nothing. And then what happens? Then you give your body the building blocks that it needs, precursors for the production of amino acids, the building blocks for your muscles. You supplement with that within a specific time range, your body is repairing itself. Hypertrophy is achieved through the micro tears your muscle experiences. It's trauma. You're traumatizing that muscle fiber, that muscle grouping. When you continue to push and push and push to the point of failure, you have maximized the amount of micro tearing that's occurred in that muscle. When you take in the supplements, as soon as your workout is done, your body is now repairing that. As it repairs the tears caused by the failure, the muscle grows. You experience hypertrophy. Apply that to your life and your process. How many times have you thought that you failed, but in reality, that was nothing but your process of reaching a higher level of climactic growth? Did you fail, or did your expectation of having an easy time as you grow yourself, that's what failed? Life is not supposed to be easy, nor is it supposed to be excessively hard for no reason. When you grow, that's a dang good reason for that struggle. When you struggle and hurt and you refuse to address, look at, assess what you lived through, that's a waste. That's like working out real hard, lifting real heavy, and not supplementing. What a waste. What a waste. What a waste. You might as well not lift heavy. Lift lighter, higher reps, really just chisel it out. You can't grow muscle without increasing, bulking your mass. You can't. It's going to be really, really difficult. You need some surplus of caloric intake so that your body can continue to repair the muscle. In your life, sometimes as part of your natural process, you need a surplus of that struggle in order to reach a point of growth. You don't have to be afraid of your experience. You don't have to be afraid of your process. You don't have to be afraid of you and your return to this knowing that life's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Every day you get through the day, you're here, right? You got through yesterday. No matter what happened yesterday, you got through it. You made it through to the next day. Today is the next day. When you consciously choose What will get your attention in that day? You are making powerful decisions in regards to how you will learn for that day. So make a decision. There are some days where, my kids will homeschool and they're gung ho about it and they really just they get it done real fast. They're self-led, self-taught, and they kind of just give us the workbooks, the content they completed that day, and we correct it and we let them know, okay, you mastered it, or hey, these are some of the things, concepts that maybe we need to work on a little bit more, get a little stronger in the understanding of that. And we don't really tell them you have to do X amount of pages in your workbooks. There's some days where the kids, one of my kids, several of my kids, they'll go through like an entire chapter, and I'm like, okay, uh, you did a lot of work. You really still want to keep going? I mean, you can stop already. No, they still want to go. They want to keep going. Okay, okay, go ahead. As long as you're actually learning it, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. And then there's other days where, because they're exceptionally intelligent, uh, when the content doesn't come to them easily, they get really hard on themselves. They get really, really hard on themselves. They're like, I'm stupid. Are you kidding me? You've taught yourself so much. I'm simply just supporting. Daddy's just simply supporting. You're teaching yourself this stuff. Like, if you already knew this stuff, you wouldn't have to learn it. And when you struggle, when it doesn't come easy to you, that's just an indication that you're actively in the process of learning. It doesn't have anything to do with capability or lack thereof. It doesn't. The same thing with your life, with your lessons. Just because you struggle through them has nothing to do with a lack of capability. It's an indication that you are actively in the process of learning, of expanding your awareness, your perception, shifting within your field. And sometimes those are the days where, like, gosh, my kid doesn't even want to read the sentence. They don't even want to hear me explaining. Like, you're so caught up in feeling so disappointed in your unfair, unrealistic expectations of yourself that it's actually offending me. And I've had conversations with my kids like that, where it's like, listen, I don't like people making my kid feel like they're dumb. You realize you're my kid and you're making yourself feel like that. I don't like that. That offends me. That really offends me. Kind of shakes them up like, whoa, why are you offended? Let's go over this. What part don't you understand? Like, point out to me which part doesn't make sense. Let's see if we can learn it together. Let's see if maybe I know how to better explain it so you better understand it. And if I don't know, let's look it up. Let's look it up. Let's do this together. There's been times where there's been tears and I'm just like, listen, we can learn this together. You don't have to feel dumb just because you don't know. That's why you're doing the work, so that you can learn something that you don't already know. If you already knew this, you wouldn't be struggling through it. And if you already know it, there's no point in doing more of it. That is a process of learning. That is the process of growth. How many of us have been able to hold that space for ourselves and let ourselves know this is hard because this is something I haven't experienced yet. And I feel a little bit insecure because I haven't experienced it. I don't know how the process goes. And maybe it's an indication that, I'm a little bit unfair with myself. I expect unfair things from myself. You know you do. You can be the nicest person to complete strangers. You can be the nicest, most patient person for people who are doing you so wrong and so dirty. But geez Louise, being patient with yourself as you struggle through a process. I mean, heaven forbid you not live up to this unfair, unrealistic, misaligned expectation of self. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. That's not fair. That's not fair. To expect things of yourself that are not aligned with the reality of who you are and where you are within your journey, that's not fair. I'm learning a huge part of my self love journey, my self love process is recognizing when I'm not being fair with myself. I don't need to go through this process of making it a goal to see myself on a pedestal and I should be worshiped. And to me, I don't think I will ever get to that point. I don't that's only a half truth. I know. I know I will never get to a point where I believe I'm entitled to be carried by other people. That's just obnoxious. I was given the parts to walk. Like I can walk. I'm not skinny anymore. I'm heftier. That's too much. I'll never be there no matter what size I am. I will never be there where I feel like I'm entitled to be carried by everyone. That's not within my character. But boy, oh boy, I am learning that the way that I love other people is practice. It's an opportunity to fine tune the way I will one day love myself. One day. I'm working towards that. I'm working towards that. I will have fluctuations in my sense of self, in my sense of self worth, in my level of dignity, in my depth of patience and compassion. I'll fluctuate through that. It's okay. It's okay. I can't expect myself to be perfect and always be my own cheerleader. It's okay. That's okay. My husband told me yesterday, so I was asking him some stuff about live streams. And I mean, he's a Gemini, so he can just be like flat out truthful. He just say things, He's not trying to be hurtful. We're having conversation. I'm asking him his opinion. And he shared with me that I've been talking really harsh lately. I've been talking very harsh in my live streams. Um, I've been sounding almost like angry. I mean, I know I'm not angry, but I can see how the tone that I've been using could be perceived as me being angry. I can also very painfully see how my choice of communication, uh, it can absolutely be interpreted and received as my disdain, my irritation and frustration with your lack of progress. I don't know that it's that. I don't feel that, but I have to hold myself accountable for how I might project that, how other people might receive it as that. So, what do I need to do about it? Instantly, I felt like I had to attack myself. I felt like I had to be very, very harsh with myself. But here's the thing, that's the problem. I've been being harsh. So, how do you fix that? With more harshness? Or by starting the process of releasing that intensity that's expressed as harshness through me showing myself some softness, like, yeah, no, I need to shift the way I'm communicating. I do. I need to shift that frustration into a place of positivity. And that place of positivity does not mean I'm going to fake being positive. That's manufactured positive. Like, no, that's not who I am either. Shifting it into a place of positivity for me, my definition, my understanding of that concept is that I will put it into a place of learning and growing. How do I do that? Holding myself accountable, being gentle with myself as I begin to consider the ways I can adjust my behaviors, ways I can adjust my communication, um, words and tones that I choose to use. Where if I feel that energy rising, it's an intensity, it's a passionate communication, I can pause for a moment, like, okay, where are we at right now? Feel the intensity rising. The message is passionate. Let's temper the delivery of that message a little bit more. Tone the energy back just a little, just a hair. Slow down the communication. Communicate. Don't just exhale this truth, releasing it and like you get it how you get it. No. This need to remember I'm powerful enough to control the way that truth is delivered. It's a beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing to be able to just witness yourself in your process. And now I'm choosing a more gentle way to shift versus like, girl, you're such a bitch. You need to quit. No, 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 no. There will be times where that approach is necessary. It's not powerful if that intensity is every single day. It then just becomes this thing of like, she mad at us? I'm not. I'm not. So why am I communicating as though it's so inconvenient? Is it an inconvenience for me? No. So then why am I communicating like that? I had to ask myself these things. I'm just frustrated. Are you frustrated because you think like everyone should just know this already? No. So then where's your frustration coming from? Because I feel like if I could just help anyone, someone to understand more, more efficiently, more deeply, they won't struggle with whatever it is they struggle through. And it's this knowing that you come and share this space with me because you're struggling through something. And I don't have the power to stop that struggle you're experiencing. So then it comes to a need to control. Is it my right? Is it my place to dictate how your life should be lived? No. Just like I can't tell you or demand you wear specific types of clothing or have a specific type of hairstyle or eat a specific type of food. I cannot control or demand that you not allow yourself to struggle, that you process your life and your experiences in the way that I say. So then I just identified why I've been so frustrated. It's because I want to be your savior. And I know in my heart that's not my place. I don't have that type of authority or power. So instead of processing that, instead of allowing myself to fully understand and recalibrate this unrealistic, unfair, unauthorized expectation of my place and purpose in your life, I went ahead and I just got all aggressive in my communication. Having that couple hours yesterday, last night, to really think about these things without shaming myself, it's created a sense of peace within me today. Like, no, you guys can handle it. You guys can handle your life. I don't need to control anything. I just need to communicate. I need to communicate in a way that's more aligned with the truth of who I am. I'm actually a really peaceful person in real life. I'm really peaceful. I'm really quiet. I have a tendency to be more soft spoken than people realize that I'll be. Um, and it's like, then comes the question of, so now are you just performing on live streams? It's not that either. It's me fluctuating through my process. I have to let myself do that. I have to. And then I have to catch myself in the process of doing that so that I can actively learn how to neutralize, how to correct myself, how to do so with compassion, with grace, holding space for myself. It's a really powerful process if you allow it to be. But it takes you overcoming, overriding that fear that exists over what you'll see if you really take a good, hard, honest look at yourself. All you're going to see is you. That's all you're going to see is you. What is so bad about you? Well, I mean, you don't understand the life I've lived. Do I need to? Because I understand energy. And without knowing the details of the life you've lived, I see and feel a good person standing in front of me. I see and feel like, it's this thing of you're in a similar process that I'm in, and I need to focus on my process and just let you focus on yours. And if you're open to me sharing with you that I think you're a good person, I think you're amazing, these are just my opinions, then I have to leave it up to you, you know? When your delivery feels angry, I just switch off. We all have that choice, and I come back to you whenever I feel drawn back to you. Yeah, that's a beautifully powerful way to exist where if I'm not resonating with you because maybe I'm going through something that day, or maybe I'm just frustrated, maybe there's so many different reasons that maybe I'm not sharing, and I don't always have to share that. If it's not resonating with you, it's not resonating with you. And you shouldn't have to force yourself to be exposed to my toxicity if that's how I'm behaving. I have to be okay with people's absence when I'm entering into places of toxicity within myself. It's not your job to help me regulate myself. And for those of you who do help by remaining present and just holding that space for me, that's a beautiful, powerful thing as well. That's a huge act of love. But here's the thing, you deserve that love before you give it to me. And as if part of your self-love journey means, all right, she's in a toxic space today, I'll check in another day. Do that. Seriously. Do that. Like it would it would literally make me feel horrible if I knew that you forced yourself to be present every day and hearing me communicate in ways that are not in alignment with what you need. Um, Knowing that that's hurting you and you're putting me before your own needs, that would really hurt my heart. That would really, really hurt me. That would really, really make me feel like a horrible person. Like it doesn't offend me when you speak that truth of when my delivery feels angry, you switch off. You should. You should. You absolutely should. You know what I mean? Um, you shouldn't have to stay in a place within yourself or within your device that makes you feel like you have to close yourself off in order to protect yourself. Does that mean I'm intentionally attacking you? No, it doesn't. But if that's how it makes you feel, your personal peace is more important than any type of algorithm benefit that I would have with your presence. You matter. Absolutely. Get to that high point, that climax, so that you can see how far you've come. It's time all of us allow ourselves to recognize how far we can climb in this process and be okay with that and just view how far we've come in this process. It's a process, that's all. It's a process. To me, feels it's the nurturing aspect of one who knows we know. So act, why won't you, in a mix of the motherly type ways of been there, done that, yet we need to experience such ways. And that's a beautiful juxtaposition between Athena and Miss Age. Both are valid positions, both are valid experiences. For some, that's what we need. We need Emmy to get, really harsh in the way she delivers. And you know what that's indicative of? It means I'm speaking a language that you speak. And that language is a very harsh, very biting, very stinging type of self talk. And there I go, trying to control again, trying to look for a way to save you from your own process. And becoming frustrated that it's not my place to. And so I have to remind myself, you're capable. You're capable. Whatever hurt you feel, it's not going to destroy you. Whatever gets deconstructed is simply a deconstruction, and you're going to hold on to those parts so that you can rebuild yourself in a way that's even more powerful, with an even deeper understanding of how powerful you actually are. And that's the beauty of sovereignty. That's the beauty and power of accountability. Like allowing myself to recognize, girl, don't, don't. Everyone has to go through their process. They are the only ones who can decide. Yes, you want to protect everyone and not have them go through the things that the way you say it. It's not that you're saying it in a mean way. It's that it's triggering this process for them that they needed your assistance to trigger. But it's also finding that beautiful middle ground of not just being that and not just being that, but just being able to fluctuate between the two the way I was designed to, you know? Allowing myself to feel the emotions, but not allowing myself to let that little bit of release become this torrential downfall of like, oh my God, and even if I did, even if I had that moment of allowing myself to really get in those feelings and feel like I failed both ends of the spectrum and I'm just and just sobbing, that's also valid. But today I want to exist in center point. I want to be able to consciously choose to deliver messages that are powerful in a soft way. Because sometimes the greatest indication of power is how soft you can be with no fear of it. It's beautiful to be a whole person, to know you're capable of war, but you're also capable of just existing in a stillness called peace, knowing you're a whole person. Ethos, the ethos we exist within has been turned upside down. That's basically the belief structure of your environment. I shared about entering into a beautifully aligned ethos years ago when my model friend invited me to do her wedding stuff. That was a beautiful ethos I was immersed into for a short period. It was only a few months before I couldn't sustain that connectivity. I needed to withdraw and become extremely quiet for years. For years. I became so overwhelmed with the depth of vulnerability and exposure, despite the fact that they really embraced me and welcomed me and made me feel not just a part of the group, but someone elevated within that group. And it was too much for me. It made me shut down socially for several years. It did. And, that's okay. That was a process I had to go through. Going through it, I was not okay with it. It was more like, "What is wrong with me? Why do I do this? Why do I not let people in? Why do I shut down? Why?" And I didn't have the answers. I didn't have the answers because the answers weren't developed until after the experience was complete. You don't have all the components until the experience is complete. And when you finish that experience, you can look back, and as you process, as you observe what you lived through, you can then begin to like realize, okay, good stuff. Good stuff. I learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself over the years. A lot. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've put so much effort into learning, consciously choosing to learn for at least the last 5 to 8 years. That's such a huge 5 to 8. That's yeah, no, maybe 5 to 8 years. And in that time of consciously choosing to grow myself, observable progress only became observable in the past year. Just because I couldn't observe any tangible progress through my process, that mean I had an excuse to stop, to give up on myself. No, keep going. Keep going. Just keep going. Life will hurt your feelings. You will hurt your feelings. Guess what? You're strong enough to overcome that hurt, to grow through that hurt. You're strong enough to decide for yourself how you choose to receive the learning opportunities. Choosing to shut off if it's not what you want is just as valid as forcing yourself to stay present, to really receive that, to feel destroyed by it, and to rebuild yourself after. Both are valid. They're just opposing positionings on that same plane of emotional, mental, spiritual, intellectual growth. What's important here is that everything you decide is filtered through the prism of, will this grow me? Not, is it comfortable? Not, is it, am I just being weak? Or these other thoughts, concepts that pop into our head. Filter it through the lens of, will this grow me? At the end of this, will I have the opportunity to grow and expand from it? Being soft and sometimes doing nothing, not reacting, not responding is the empath superpower. Yep. Yep. And if that's all you ever do, then maybe we need to begin considering we need to try a different approach. If what you've been doing this entire time has not provided you the results that you want for growth, for internal as well as external peace, for social harmony in your environment, for whatever it is you set your mind to, we need to change our approach. We just do. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because it's not providing the results that you're trying to achieve. And if it's not providing the results, your energy, your time, your focus, that's priceless. That's priceless. So use it wisely. Use it with some efficiency and consideration. Consider the different options of how you could do this and that. And then decide and commit to that decision. Write it all the way through. See how it plays out. You'll learn no matter what you decide. So long as you allow for the learning to occur, I promise you, you will learn. You will learn, and no one can stop you from learning. People can come and kind of distort your process, your perception of what you're trying to learn, but that's up to you, isn't it? That's up to you, whether you're going to allow them to or not. It's absolutely up to you. Okay. And then we have the union card in reverse. So it's like this separation between self and soul. It needs to be a unified front, because if it's not, you'll experience fragmentation. You'll experience a type of frustration that you guys have been witnessing me experiencing, at least for the past couple of weeks, of like intensity, like being so dang intense and not even realizing how intense and unnecessary much of that intensity actually is. Yes, I feel Emmy's harshness is coming out of passion and effort to help us understand better. And from, I have a feeling frustration because she would tell so much, but she's holding back. Yeah, it has some to do with that. It does. It has some to do with that, and it has some to do with poor self-regulation. It has some to do with a whole bunch of different other things that are going on. At the end of the day, whatever the cause is, it's not as important. It's important, but it's not as important as you finding a solution that will bring you back to a base point, your baseline, a neutral point, a place of clarity, because that's the goal, to get to that baseline so that the neutrality of your existence can help create stillness and you can see with greater clarity. If there's a lot of stuff like all over the place and a lot of distortions, a lot of movement, a lot of opposing opinions, even within yourself, that creates a lot of distortions in the way you see things. Um, oh, thank you, Catherine. I typed something and quickly deleted it as I realized I was trying to save you from your process. I have no right to take that from you. Same here, girl. Same here, where it's just knowing we're in our process. If I really need a hand to kind of pull me up, pull me out, I know you guys would. I know you also respect my process and you let me do what I need to do. And it's like this beautiful space of existing where we know we can do this for each other. Where when someone shares something difficult in the comments and you see it, where you can now have experienced the type of growth that will cause you to pause for a moment and be like, do you need me to just validate, like, I hear you, I see you, I saw what you wrote? Or do you need me to offer a solution, my opinions? Like, what do you need right now? Are you just in a process and I need to respect that? Or are you teetering at the edge and there's no tether to keep you from falling to your demise? And you need me to kind of pull you back from the edge for a second and be like, hey, you good? You need a tether? You want to put one on? You can stand in the edge, but you want to put a tether on? Just, it's okay for you to dangle, but we don't want you to actually fall. Right. And giving them the type of love where they can decide that. They could really just decide that. Um, Oh, that's beautiful, Queen of Hearts. My dad came to me telling me I'm okay, um, and your mom said she's proud of you, that I'm doing the healing and let it out. Oh, I've come to realize that no matter how far we are in our enlightenment, we always are learning new things about ourselves and the world around us. It's a beautiful thing. The whole enlightenment thing, it's not an end destination, in my opinion. I see it as like school, where as you graduate from a grade, there's always another grade, another level of learning that comes after that. Something you do in the grade level you're in is prepare yourself through your learning and experiences to prepare yourself to be able to handle the start of the next process and the next process. Some people are like, no, it ends after 4 years of college. No, I beg to differ. medical school itself, it's I mean, to be a doctor, I think it's about 10 years to get to that point of residency. And then you have how many years of residency? And then you have how many years of whatever else? And the reality of being in the medical field as some type of medical provider, the reality of that is that you're going to continue to go to it's continuing education. I distinctly remember, my mom had already been an RN, a BSN, uh, much of my life at that point. And every year she would have to go to some sort of workshop, seminar, and I remember this because she would bring me with her. I distinctly remember it was something like third or fourth grade, I want to say. Third or fourth grade. She brought me with her to a seminar. It's like a week-long seminar. It was in Monterey at the Sheraton Hotel. I still remember, and I wanted to go so bad. And she's like, "You're gonna be bored. You're gonna be bored." She pulled me out of school to go. I missed my school for an entire week to go. And I agreed to do my schoolwork while in the seminar with her because I was just so hell bent on being present. This is still in the 80s. Being present as this specialist spoke about in vitro fertilization in the high risk neonate. And I took notes for that. It was just this thing of like, what are they going to teach next year? I think I think the only superpower I actually have is my insatiable hunger for learning. Because I just want to learn anything and everything and just keep learning and learning and learning, whether I do anything with it or not, whether I ever share it with someone or not. Just learn and learn and learn. That's the very reason I know no matter what life sends my way, I will find a way through it. I have this endless storage of information. And no, I'm not just going to regurgitate facts. I don't learn things to memorize them. I have to know how it works. I need to know the ins and outs of how this works, why it works, what makes it efficient, what are some of the pitfalls, because I need to know how to apply this at a future date. I don't know when, but I'll know. I don't know when, but I'll know. When it's time, that information will come forward. I will just know. And isn't that how your life works? Isn't it? Are you consistently thinking about the experiences that you've had? Or you have the experiences and then you move on with life. And then one day you have another experience that reminds you of the previous experience. And now you suddenly know. You suddenly know. I've avoided so much drama lately, the past maybe year and a half, because now I've been allowing my previous experiences with people to be the very thing that gives me the courage to give myself the permission to not repeat those same cycles. To just not repeat those same cycles. For example, one specific person, like a year, maybe 2 years ago, was trying so hard to be my friend, wanted to be publicly associated with me so bad. And I'm just like, God, they are so sweet. Why am I being like this? I feel like I need to just, no, I have to have distance from you. I don't know what it is. You're so sweet, though. You're just so supportive. Like, what is this? And so I allowed for distance, not because I think they're a bad person, but because you know what? If I don't feel right, if I feel off around you, I'm gonna need to have some distance so I can assess what's going on with me. It's no longer a you process. It's me. Like, am I reacting to something in my environment? Am I reacting to you? Am I just being, condescending? Am I being judgmental? Like, am I condemning you unnecessarily? What is this? And as I've begun doing that, like consciously choosing to do that and just observing every single time, I've never had an experience that contradicted this. Every single time, with enough distance and observation, they show me exactly why I was right to have that distance and silence. Like, nope, nope. Yeah. Does that mean they're a bad person? No, I still don't think they're a bad person. But I do think that that's a repeat of the cycle. And here's the thing, people might be like, why does my soul keep testing me? Well, if you're going to learn something in school, don't you get tested later on? But I already graduated that class. Okay. But the next class, they do the same thing and it's building on what you learned in the previous class, is it not? So then that's why. That's why you keep getting tested. You're not being tested in the exact same way. You're being allowed to reach a new level of climax before you're tested again in a more nuanced manner. In a more nuanced manner. And that's how the soul affords the ability to learn, because the human brain cannot accept copious amounts of spiritual information and in a steady stream. That's too much. It's going to overload the human brain. It's just going to overload it. So we're given tidbits and tidbits and tidbits and tidbits. And then we have enough tidbits to form an entire cookie. An entire cookie. All right. So card number 21, defend to the end the worthwhile. We have to be careful that we are aware of what we're defending. If we're defending ourselves, what are we defending ourselves from? From someone speaking truth to us because we don't want to address it, we don't want to hear it, or is there really a need for you to defend yourself? Is someone really attacking you? Is there really, truly a need to defend? Now, remember, defense means it is a reaction or response to someone else's behaviors. Okay. If you get a weird feeling about someone and you then go and attack them, that's no longer defense. That is so not defense. Okay. Defense means they are going to do something first. You're in a screaming match with a stranger in public and they're just screaming. So you decide to strike them because they're screaming in such a way that makes you think like they're going to strike you. So you strike them first. That's not defense. That's not self defense. Okay. So we have to be aware, are we trying to beat someone to the punch? Pun not intended. Are we trying to beat them to something? That's a trauma response. And maybe that's why you're experiencing that. So you can begin addressing the trauma responses that you actually still have. That's a lack of trust in self. We don't know what's appropriate and not appropriate for the environment and the situations that we end up in. I'm really bad at reading social cues. I don't know when people are joking. I don't know when people are like trying to let me know something without words. Like, my husband said to me for quite a few years, I'm just oblivious of people. I used to have guy friends, and I had guy friends because I think like a dude. I think that, if we have things in common, we can be friends and be platonic friends. And there's been situations where I guess the guy friend doesn't want to be a friend. I don't know. That's like, or my husband will pick up that they have a different intention, different agenda than what I'm seeing, because I always like to just see the good in people. I do. I always like to just see the good in people. Like, no, and I would tell my husband, like, no, not everyone thinks I'm cute. Not everyone wants me, honey. Because really, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, yo. I'm just not. I'm not. Hello. People have other types that they're attracted to. I'm not everyone's, you know, tea and crumpets. But he's usually right when he says something like that because, he doesn't see that for everyone. He doesn't. There are certain people where he'll be like, "Mhm." And I'm like, "What?" And he's not accusing me of doing anything. He's like, "Mhm. She's oblivious again." And the moment he's like, "Mhm." Now I'm like, "Okay, what am I missing? What like let me actually really make it a point to pay attention to the things you communicate to me, the way you communicate it." And then when I do that, I'm like, "Oh gosh. Oh, that's a yucky feeling." That feels so inappropriate. Like, "Ew, he was right again. My husband was right again." So we have to make sure that we begin pausing and assessing, really just observing, is this lack of trust because I don't want to believe that I'm right? And then, if that's the case, when have you been wrong? When you're the kind of person that doesn't want to believe ugly things about other people, when have you been wrong? Everyone that I felt yucky around, um, they usually are people I should not be around. Now I'm learning, like, "Ooh, I'm sure you're a really good person. I'm just not gonna." Yeah, no. No, thank you. I don't know why I feel this way. I'm just going to honor it. I'm just gonna honor it. And there you go. Inner trust. You have to go within yourself. See, in this picture, it's like we're basing our trust on what's going on in our environment. This one, it's just you. You're not listening to anyone else. There's no other stimulation, no other people's thoughts and perceptions to really like shake up what you're thinking, what you're feeling, causing more confusion, all of that. Okay. I'm really not sticking around to find things out at this point. I'm just going to be like, I'm sure you're a good person. I hope you have a good life. Goodbye. Card number 37, focus on the light. Focus on your light. Okay. You've spent so much time in your shadows and focusing on the darker aspects of you that when you shift to focusing on that dying ember of a light within you, you'll begin to see how bright you still are. And all it takes is a little bit of air and a little bit of know how to get that coal, that glowing ember, to become a full on fire again. Okay. All it takes is a little bit of air and a little bit of know how. Frey really has my back. He doesn't tell me what to do, So when he says something, I'm at a point where, like, I really got to listen. Not just do what he says, but I really have to take into consideration what he's saying. I just do. I have to take that into consideration and see how it applies to whatever situation I'm in. So, card number 12, every journey starts with a single step. You know, Many of us think that we can't take that first step in that self love journey until we've healed all of our wounds. I tell you, you can pack all that emotional baggage in a suitcase with wheels. You can even make it one of those motorized suitcases that you can ride like a little scooter through an airport. You can even make it like that. You can carry that with you. You can take that with you as you take your first several steps forward in that self healing journey. There's no definitive way to do this. If you don't have it in you, whether it's the courage or the stamina or the know how to process all of that trauma before you can take a step forward, pack it up. Put it in a little suitcase, put it in a big suitcase. Hell, put it in a balikbayan box. You know what that is? That's this big moving box that my people and my culture use when we travel between the United States and the Philippines. We fill it with all kind of stuff and we use that. And some people might be like, but what about luggage? Oh, we have luggage too. But we also use a balikbayan box. Balikbayan, it's Tagalog for returning back to the homeland, returning back to your neighborhood, your tribe, your village, your province. Balik means to go back, to return. Bayan is your province, where you're from, to return back home. Put it in a balikbayan box. I'll show you. We do this thing where we tape it really, really well. And then, hold up, we need rope. Balik. Oops. Bayan box. Okay. Well, I got a funny story to tell you guys. I got a really funny story to tell you guys. All right. So this is a little bit big, but we usually will use rope and then we'll duct tape the whole box and then we'll like use rope so that you can more easily carry it. But so okay, we're in the Philippines, right? And I had to go to the SM, the shopping mall in my mom's province, so that we could go ahead and bring things to the airport because the relatives were like, um, the relatives are like, just leave your luggage here, just use a balikbayan box, let us have it. Because apparently, it don't matter if you're poor AF in the United States. In the Philippines, you're considered rich. I was like, what about my clothes? You want me to put it in a freaking garbage bag? And so my mom was like, we're leaving the luggage, go to the mall and get balikbayan boxes and also get some tape so we can tape up the boxes, tape and rope. So I find the boxes, I find the rope. I cannot for the life of me find the tape. So I go up to a worker. Mind you, I speak fluent Tagalog, right? And I'm asking him, hi, where's the tape? The duct tape. I'm going to go back home. We need to put everything in balikbayan boxes. We already have the rope. We have the boxes. I just need to find the tape. And he's like, duct tape? Yeah, like it's gray. And he's like, ah. And I'm like packing tape for packages. It just, I need tape. He goes, packing tape? And so I show him the balikbayan box. I said, tape. I'm frustrated at this point. He goes, ah, the fucking tape. I was like, what? He goes, it's the fucking tape. The fucking tape? Yeah, the fucking tape. And he's like, follow me. And he takes me to this aisle where they have all the fucking tape. I had to remind myself, like, yo, that's how they say it here. Don't correct him because when I was like, yeah, no, the packing tape. He's like the fucking tape. He kept correcting me. I was like, just let it go, girl. Let it go. You are an outsider here. Let that shit go. Let it go. It is fucking tape. So get your balikbayan box. You're heading back home to yourself. Get yourself a couple rolls of fucking tape and package it up. Package it up. You can bring your emotional baggage with you as you travel down that path. Having emotional baggage is not evidence of your woundedness, your lack of worth, your failure or anything like that. We all carry baggage. We all carry baggage. What determines the way you experience your life and your lessons and your self healing journey is the way you allow other people's perceptions to affect the way you see yourself and decide for yourself after that skewed perception. I don't just have emotional baggage, I have emotional warehouses on wheels. Doesn't make me any less than anyone else. It doesn't make me any more. It does tell me, though, that if I need something at any point, I can go into one of those emotional warehouses, find the proper box, get what I need from that box, and use that item to resolve whatever it is I'm struggling through right now. The learning is in the living. In the act of living, you are learning. So when you try and make it a goal to erase the memory recall of what you have learned through your living, you are crippling yourself. You're allowing yourself to be shamed into a place of like compliance, a place of guilt, a place of trying to fit in. You were never meant to fit in. You just weren't. You weren't meant to fit in. That's okay. Not all of us have that purpose to fit in. It doesn't mean you think you're better than everyone. It just means you have a different purpose than the people who can fold up and fit in boxes. That's it. That's it. So if there's a concert, right? There's different jobs for concerts, right? You have the people who are like the event planners, they're coordinating everyone else that will be a part of that, from security to vendors to people who are part of like the cleanup crew, the setup crew. You have sound engineers, light engineers, people who know how to construct the stage, people, all of these different people. And you also have the performer, the main star. You have the people who are opening up for that star, the headliner. You have the band members. We can't all be the headliner. You also need an audience, right? Because then what's the point? We all have to play a different role in this performance called life, in this show called life. We all have our own role to fill. We're not all supposed to be the same. We're just not. Ooh, you haven't let go of your allegiance to whatever it is that's kept you all crumpled up, small. But look, here's the thing. Look at that. Look how beautiful your skin is. Yeah, you're shedding. You're shedding. You're letting go of the layers that have dried out and are no longer necessary. That doesn't mean you're diseased. Shedding the skin is a natural process that we go through day in and day out. Day in and day out. You are shedding the parts of you that are no longer in alignment with who you are. The word wants to be written, so we haven't been communicating within ourselves. We haven't been making our needs known outside of ourselves. I mean, whichever one resonates is probably the part that you need to work on, the part that you need to first quietly observe, allow yourself to really get a good look at what this is, all of that. You deserve that. You deserve that depth and intimacy of knowing yourself. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. Your rhythm comes from your soul, not your logic. Your logic has no rhythm, it has no grace. It's just this pre planned, pre choreographed concept. It's based on what other people have choreographed in the past and how you're going to apply that choreography to the present? What if you're not as flexible as a person who that choreography was created for? What if you're more flexible? Then you've just wasted a beautiful gift rather than showcasing it and helping yourself to really celebrate all your strengths. You're just trying to be a copy of someone else. You're deserving of so much more than that. I'll share this with you guys. I found that people who make it like their life goal to be like the next Emmie, I still don't get that concept. To be an Emmie, these people who like they have this running dialogue or monologue in their head, like, I do what Emmie does. They tend to be the people who are irrevocably breached by parasitics. They're irrevocably possessed by demonics. I promise you, you don't want to be an Emmie. The type of attacks I endure day in and day out. You ever notice how the screen flashes when I'm live? The camera is not focusing on anything else. It's still focused on me, but you ever notice how the screen flashes? Those are morphogenetic detonations. Something's attacking me, and my shield is defending itself. You really want to be an Emmie? By all means. I don't want to be an Emmie. Like, I don't want to do that. But it's my purpose, and that's why I do it. Oh. At my mom's funeral, so many got up speaking on how they wanted to be like my mom. I wonder if they just lacked the ability to properly communicate how much she inspired them. Not that they wanted to be her, but they were so inspired by her. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So, the perfection of your life, it's okay if your life gets turned upside down. It's still perfectly calibrated for you and what you need to learn in that moment. Card number 33, heaven sent. Yes, you are. You're sent from somewhere beyond this time space matrix. It's a beautiful, beautiful place of existence, plane of existence. We all go back to that someday, all of us. Maybe we need to begin considering that we're not actually afraid of death and dying. What we're afraid of is living, failing to be what we know in our hearts we already are, but are simply in the process of remembering, recovering. Card number 14, going beyond normal, going beyond the usual thoughts and usual plan of self-attack. You have to outgrow that at this point. You don't deserve that anymore. Allow yourself to grow beyond it. So I'm going to just get one final card. Hi, Hinano. Final card. Final card. Here goes. So card number 35, the lover and the beloved. When you move beyond consciousness, you caress the beloved. When you move into the unknown beyond everything, the beloved caresses you. It's not enough to love me. I want you to allow me to love you. It's not enough to desire me, to want to be closer to me. I want to reach out to you and grab a hold of you, drawing you into me and never letting you be apart from me again. There is so much more for us to experience, you and me, than simply gazing, even with love, at each other from a distance. Let me take you into my arms. Let me hold you until we cease to know or care where we where you and I once were you and I, for instead we will be one. Will you allow it? Will you allow me? Will you allow us to be? Oh, sweet beloved, the divine, the great beloved has a passionate desire for you, to love you, to touch you, to make the divine presence known to you, so that you will cease to fear the darkness, take delight in all of life, and become mesmerized by the beauty of love in its endless emanations. But how we resist love at first. Yes, we've been burned before, have we not? Abandoned, betrayed, so painfully disappointed, cast aside, and have suffered at the hands of some unworthy lover. Can this great divine love affair be tarred with the same brush, with the same bitter expectations that keep the heart closed? You are too beautiful to be hidden away behind a bitter and gated heart. That's unworthy of you. So then, can you allow the great beloved to reach for you, to receive that sacred touch every day, to be spoken to with words of love, to receive? You who give yourself, can you imagine the beloved wishes to give to you too? These need not be mutually exclusive happenings. Come now, deep down, you know the genius of the divine is such that in being received, much is given. You shall not be selfish in letting yourself be seen and loved. Allow it, rejoice in it. Take delight in allowing yourself to receive life and let the world soak up the ardent glow of your sensual surrender into the great beloved's embrace. This oracle brings you a message. Something has to change in your physical world. You are in need of more sustenance, more love, more connection, and more nourishment that touches your body and soul and brings them into deeper oneness with each other, with life, with love. Dare you open up and allow that love in? The great beloved has desired this to be so. Will you heed that holy desire? Will you allow love in? Say yes. If you find this difficult, now is a time to gently, carefully tend to the walls you once placed between yourself and life. Walls of tentativeness, excessive caution, fear of abandonment and betrayal, doubt of your own lovableness, and doubts based on past pain without substance. You are so much greater than these crumbling walls. They are the stuff that is designed for demolition, not devotion and honoring. Can you begin to unpack the bricks you mistakenly believed were essential to your safety and well being? You are too vast to see for that small puddle of thought now. The oceanic world of love is your true home, and the sun is beating down upon you. It's too hot to gaze at the ocean longingly from afar, or even stand by its edge. Strip off your layers, run to the ocean, and dive in. This oracle brings you special guidance. An offer or opportunity is on its way to you or has recently been presented. It may be an idea you have been nurturing or one presented to you by another person. Sit with it. Do you feel exhilaration? Do you feel energy at the thought of saying yes? Then say yes. Allow yourself to receive. There is divine encouragement in taking risks that feel wild and alive to your heart. Take a risk on yourself. Take a risk on investing in yourself. That investment will always pay off. I promise you. Might not be right away. It might not be next week, next month, next year. I promise you, though, you'll get to a point at some point in your life, just one day, you'll be like, I'm amazing. And know that that statement has nothing to do with comparing to anyone else, competing with anyone else. Just this declaration of the truth that you finally know you're amazing because you are. Because you are. And people won't be able to see this or experience this until you get out of your own way. So get out of your own way. Allow yourself to be witnessed. And sometimes that's all you need the courage for. Just allowing yourself to be witnessed and giving people the freedom to see the truth of who you are, the truth of your intent. I mean, just in this live stream, you guys have shared with me how you receive the way I communicate. I saw nothing negative about anything that was shared with me. I did not feel attacked in any way. In fact, I felt honored that you feel so safe with me, that you could share how I've made you feel, your reaction to that, and that you still choose to come around because you know it's not necessarily an attack on you. That I'm going through things on my own and, you know, it's fine. Not really, but it's fine. You know that there is still love there. There is still a mutual respecting between us. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to begin accepting the fact that the only courage you need right now is to allow yourself to be witnessed as you are. Just let people see who you are. Let them decide for themselves who you are. And let them speak freely about how they receive you so that you can get a better understanding of how you're received. Again, that doesn't determine your worth. It just gives you more clarity. Don't avoid the truth of you. Don't avoid the truth of your journey, your growth, your process, what you've been through, what you might go through, all the different things that can happen if you allow yourself to be vulnerable. I swear to you, the only person who can destroy you is yourself. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It just doesn't. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. It only begins to matter when you allow it to, when you make the decision to give it the energy that it needs, to have the type of gravity that it needs to affect your life in a positive or a negative way. Positive way, I've allowed you guys to witness me as I am in all my moods, all my phases, all the different cycles of learning that I've been through. I'm only beginning to notice that I'm growing through this. You guys have been telling me for quite some time now, at least in the past year, how much you've witnessed me grow. I could grow more. I could. I know what I'm capable of, and I feel like I'm dragging my feet. But then at the same time, I think it's more important for me to allow the process to unfold without my interference, without my trying to control, so that I can actually truly learn at the depth that I need to learn this, and to allow myself to go through that process with you witnessing me so you can initiate whatever process you're going to initiate. Life is really beautiful, you guys. Even in the struggles, even in the painful moments, even in the times where we feel so depleted. We don't have to be that toxic positive person, right? Where we're pretending everything's okay and it's not. But gosh. And the times where my life feels so empty because I feel so depleted of energy, of hope, of empowerment, self-empowerment, I just got to remind myself, you're being emptied so you could be refilled. The old stuff has to be cleared out first. Nothing but fresh new stuff, fresh new opportunities, fresh new connections, fresh new understanding of yourself and your soul, fresh new alignments. Just fresh and new. Not because the old wasn't good enough, but because the old it's already served its purpose. It served its purpose. Thank you, old self, for holding that space until my new self was integrated. Thank you, new self, for finding the courage to step forward. Yes, your presence, new self, displaced old self, but it wasn't malicious. It was just part of my process. Just having that conversation with you between self and soul can be very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. So, guys, I hope if you are stressed out today, if you are just feeling depleted in some way, shape, or form, that my newfound centerness for myself, my newly reestablished stillness and personal peace inspires you and empowers you to do that for yourself. Okay. So it's not yet Black Friday, but I thought I'd get a head start. Private sessions, readings, energy work, all of that good stuff. 50% off on my website. That includes my certification program. That includes my self and soul coaching sessions. That pretty much includes any type of session. The membership, the K33, my Kokoro 33 weekly membership, it does not process on the website. So no, you won't be able to use the discount for that. But all the other services and instruction, you can use that 50% off. It's automatic. I believe I also have gift cards enabled. So you can do that and save it for a rainy day if you don't know what you want yet. And on top of that, I did get a chance to load quite a few of my personal crystal collection, quite a few of it, onto my website. That's 33% off automatically. Crystal tools, 33% off automatically. And I don't have repeats of them. So once it's purchased, yeah, that's it. I only have one of each, one for each listing. So once it's purchased, that's it. It's just one. Yeah, automatic 33% off of crystals, 50% off of all my sessions. Gift yourself something. Gift yourself something. Treat yourself to personal healing. Those crystals have served me really, really well. They've gone through so many different processes with me. Sessions, 50% off. Treat yourself to some one-on-one time with me so that I can assist you in whatever way you feel you need to be assisted. I don't know how long the coupon codes are active on the website. But treat yourself. Really, truly treat yourself. Invest in your self-healing. Invest in the clarity you need to make the decisions that are waiting for you to make a decision. Y'all know my sessions are not just some, novelty thing. It's not just entertain yourself. My work has a very true purpose. It's very potent. My goal, part of my purpose in life, is to empower you to the degree that you once again remember how to do all of that stuff for yourself, how to stabilize yourself. And, who doesn't like stability? If I may suggest, I would go for a mentorship, the certification program, or the self and soul coaching. That's a huge discount at 50% off. And those are the things that give you the greatest potentiality for being your own Emmie. Those are the three that can really, really change the way you interact between self and soul. Private sessions are cool. They are. I can do a lot in private sessions. Instruction, priceless. Empowering yourself to the degree where you can maintain the work yourself. That, priceless. So treat yourself. Really invest in you. You deserve it. You need it. You need to be able to heal beyond what you thought you couldn't. I know you can. Maybe it's time for you to know that too. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to get going. I have a lot of stuff to do. Lord. Thank you guys so much for sharing this space with me. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. I have quite a few projects that I'm going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be shifting gears. And I've said it for a couple months already. I'm really ready to step into my actual proper role within my journey and my purpose. So I hope you guys are okay with some of the shifts I'm going to be doing. I'm still going to exist the way you've known me to exist, but I have every intent in showing you guys more varied aspects of myself. It's time. It's time to exit out of just this one space that I show. And hopefully in my decision to do that and the courage I finally found to do it, it encourages you guys to remain as malleable, as flexible as your life needs you to be. We get through everything. We do. So I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Bye, everyone.